Bye. Hello everyone. Good evening. How are you all?
Good evening. How are you?
Yes, I'm doing great. How about you? How many of you are joining for the very first time? We're all present. Can I ask one or two questions?
Yes, we can.
Okay, so tell me what did we discuss? Those who were present on the last class.
We discussed that projects are small.
Okay. Okay, so anyway, guys, don't take it on a serious note. It was just a demo, and definitely not expecting you that you guys will recall what was told in the last class. The actual class will start from the next Saturday, and then I definitely is gonna ask you questions in the classes to keep you all motivated and to be on a track. So for now, I'm just gonna revise whatever we discussed on the first demo. Uh, so if you guys remember, we discussed about some test scripts. I showed you 3 to 4 scripts on a very high note. What is the Python capable of doing? So we saw one of the live IPsec site-to-site configuration. We also checked how do you bring up the interface. We checked some scenarios like how do you prepare your own Excel sheet via some regex regular expressions. We checked some if else if else related script which can provide you 4 failed attempts on a Cisco box. Okay, so these were all the test scripts which we discussed. Lot of theoretical knowledge to be needed to get this done. So it's on my screen. List format, open method, split lines, dictionary. Okay, so today in today's demo I'm gonna discuss all these frequently occurring Python theoretical topics. Okay, once we know a bit on theoretical topic, then we can start up with our script writing. Otherwise, if I start directly with script writing without letting you guys know what is a variable, what's string, no one is gonna get benefited. Okay. All right. So anyone who is joining for the very first time, let me introduce myself. My name is Sagar, and I'm the trainer for this batch. So this is going to be 1.5 to 2 month of weekend batch. We are conducting 2 free demo classes, and from next Saturday, it's gonna be the log session. That means those guys who have enrolled will have access to it. And our official curriculum, you can find it over on our website. So our backend guys will provide you all the necessary links and all the upcoming courses that we conduct here in this uh, training institute. Okay, so this is the curriculum. So this is related to the Cisco DevNet certification, the Python modules, Ansible, Nornier, NEPAM, sub-process, once again Python libraries. We are gonna touch the Python theory because most of the guys would be from the non programming background. So we will cover theory as well. Okay. And at the end, or along with along with our progress, when we complete one module, I would like to give a project from that module. Okay, so you guys can work on it and submit back on our Slack community or on our web portal, and we normally discuss in the next live class. So if you have any challenge or if you have any doubts, you can ask in the next class. So there would be like 15 projects given throughout. So this will be all put up in the chat window, and you guys feel free to reach out back end to enroll and all other things. Okay. So guys, anyone who wants to introduce themselves, who are joining for the very first time? Anyone here who is joining for very first time?
Hi, Sagar. This is Balu. So I'm joining for the first time today.
Yeah, hi Balu. Okay.
Yeah.
So you've been into automation?
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. No issues. So today's topic is just to, to bring some theoretical topics. All right. So, so I'll just highlight something over here. You guys tell me if you know what it's for and what it does, and accordingly we will start the discussion then.
Hello?
Hello, yes, go ahead.
So can you repeat 1 second? So what you were telling?
I said that I'm gonna put down some points here. So you guys tell me if you guys are aware of it or no, or what's your interpretation for this, so that I can then, clear your doubts. Okay, so how many of you know what's Python print? What is print basically?
Yeah, print is used for print the strings, whatever the use. Yeah.
Okay.
It can display the whatever statement in the in output code, sir.
Okay.
Print is a function to print the output.
Okay. So it's considered as a print output method, which is gonna okay, 1 second. Guys, just 1 second. All right. So print is a function to get the output on your terminal. Basically, you're instructing your computer to talk. Okay. So let's say this is your machine, and you want your computer to read loud whatever you wanna execute out or execute back from the script. Okay. So let's say you just want your computer to read hello for you, and you as a executor who are just sitting in front of your computer, you want to see that hello is getting printed up. Let's say you have written 100 lines of code, and you are not really aware what is going on with that script. So you can put some print statement saying that now I have crossed line number 100. You can print many more print statement. You can say that now I have crossed the 200 lines of this code. So you as a executor, your computer will start displaying at the bottom that 100th line crossed, 200th line crossed. So you know what's happening in the backend. So basically, it's like a message the computer is gonna show you guys to know what's happening. If you see here on my terminal, so this portion of my software is gonna tell me the output for all print function. So wherever I have inserted the print command, inside my script, it's gonna give me the output here. So basically it's a output method in Python. Do you guys know what is the input method then? So if I say that print is a output method, what could be the input method? How would you give some datas to the script?
We can call the
Ask user to enter the
Sorry.
Variable.
we can call the variable and
Okay. See, variable is one static manner.
Yes.
With
Standard
variable,
L.
yeah, you can
some method.
you can assign some constant value and that you can call it. But let's say if I want to give a dynamic input.
Is a
Yeah, we can
standard
use
input.
standard input. You can use methods in the
Have you guys heard about the input function?
Yes.
Have you heard about this? So what
yeah,
input,
yes, sir, input function.
yeah, so what input function does is it's gonna let the executor to type his input. So let's say this is my input function. I can say enter the password. Okay. And if you just run this, so you can see here, it is prompting you for password. Now you can type any password of your choice. And this password you can store in this XYZ variable. Okay. So this method, this function is called as Python's input method.
Yeah.
Python input method. And the print function, which we discussed previously, that's called as Python's output method. So in your interview, if someone asks you, what do you mean by print Python's IO? It's basically nothing but input and output. So input via print and input via input function and output via print statement or print function. Okay. So some people, some interviewer try to give this sort of question to confuse you. So don't be confused. It's a straightforward logic here. Okay. So what is Python comment? Why do I use Python comment?
To display whatever
To display?
whatever the what task.
No.
The line of code not executed.
Yes. So it's a way.
This description of the code, no, sir.
Sorry.
It is heading of the whatever we write on the code.
No, see, it's not a heading. It's a way to put a line getting ignored by the script. Let's say if you have 100 of lines here and some line you don't want the script to be actionable or don't want the script to execute it, you cannot let these kept lying here or there. The script will find it out and give you an error saying that there is a undefined function or undefined syntax found. So you have to comment it. So what happens when you comment? They basically turns out to be grayed out and they are non-actionable, in the sense they don't get trigger it out. You can later on remove that hash symbol and bring back it to the actionable mode. Okay, so if you see some live script over on my screen, see, we can comment it out. Say, like, for example, see, if I remove this, now it's a actionable item. It's gonna do its job. But let's say I don't want to do that because already I have a lot of print statement, and in my output terminal I might get thousands of data there and I might miss the important one. So I can gray out which is not important. But yes, there are sometimes you can also put some, like how you were referring, headlines or some warning notifications or some labels basically, you can say that this is where the list of device starts. This is where the credential starts. Okay. Or you can put some more comment saying that the logic starts below. Okay. So these comments are applicable per line basis. If you want to add one more comment, then you need to put back the hash symbol, and then whatever you want to comment, you can just write it. Okay, so this hash symbol is applicable line by line basis only. It's not that you put one hash trick somewhere and the entire section gets grayed out.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So next question. What do you understand by variable?
Variable is a name given to the temporary store the value in the memory.
So what memory I can store?
We have to store the in this variable we have defined to a name to the value. So
okay. So can I
an integer or a string?
Is this a valid? What is this now? Which is variable now?
No.
Okay. Why no?
Because the variable name 1, 2, 3 is present.
Sorry, is
Number present, variable name.
Okay. So you
variable
say
name doesn't start with a number or some other special characters.
Okay. How about others? Any input from any other people? What is this gonna yield me? Is it gonna give me a is it a good variable or it's just a bad variable?
I think it's just a bad, right? You're not holding any value. It just says data, right? It's a text value.
Yeah.
Right?
So from this point of view, it's good. You can keep any data. You can keep username, password, whatever. Okay. But what about from the naming conversion that I have used it on the variable side?
Well,
Okay.
Not sure.
Okay. So remember, there are certain thumb rules when you prepare your variable. The variable names cannot start with numbers.
Okay.
Okay. No numbers allowed. Variables that you use here, let's say I say SSH 123, and if I'm calling out the same variable somewhere at the bottom of my same script, so remember these are gonna be case sensitive itself. You cannot make a lower case or a capitalized things to refer it back. So it's a case sensitive, the names of these variable. What is allowed then? What can you start with? You can start with the characters, letters, any English characters, or underscore is allowed as well. You can put a underscore like something like this. So this is good, but you cannot start with any special characters there, which will violate. Okay. So these are certain thumb rules when you prepare your variable. Okay, so let me take this out. And let me give a valid variable name. So let's say, okay, so let's say username. Simple as that. So now you guys say, is it good?
Yes.
Okay, and what data is it using, storing inside it?
String.
String or character.
Sorry, string or?
Character.
Okay. So why do you guys say it's a string?
collection of characters.
Sorry.
Collection of characters. It include the single code. In Python, when you can write only single code to store the value. So
Now what is this gonna be?
this is a number, integer.
Integer.
Are you guys sure?
String.
This
String.
also string.
Or this is string, sir, string.
Okay. All right. So let's do that on our screen, on our terminal. Let's see what it's gonna give us the output. Okay. So let's say x equals to 100, y equals to 200, z equals to x plus y, and print z. So what do you think could be the output?
100, 200.
Sorry.
100 plus 200.
100
100
plus
to
200.
It will print
Guys-
out 300.
Guys, put down on the chat because I'm not able to get either one of them because all are unmuting all at time. You can use chat also. So is it gonna give me 300? See, this is why I said make use of chat because I can see people answering. Okay, so some say 100,200, some say 100 plus 200, some say 100 space and 200, some say it will print 300. Okay. Okay, so let's say I am gonna execute this and show you guys what result it's gonna put you back. Okay, so this is how it's gonna put back the data for you. Now what happens here, it's though it looks like a numbers, but since you have those inverted comma, it has lost its property of being called numbers. Now they are strings. And what happens when you just concatenate two string? You're gonna get the output in this manner. Okay, these are non-mathematical numbers now. If you wanted them to really have a value of numbers, then go without the inverted commas. And now print z will give you the output 300.
300.
Okay. All right. So someone said this. So this to occur, you should convert this in string itself. Then only it will come reflect as plus. Otherwise, plus by default in Python is a arithmetic operators. So it's gonna do what it's asked to do. Okay. If you want to lose its default property and print you as the plus symbol, you have to also put that in a string notation so that it print you 100 plus 200. Okay, if you want that answer. All right, so how many of you guys know what is open function? What is open function used in Python?
Opening file.
What type of file?
Opening CSV file or text file in.
Okay, so open method is applicable for text, for CSV and Excels. We leverage on different modules as well. Okay, so open method goes good with the text format. And what's difference between these two? With open method and only open method?
With open method for opening file path or text file path. Only up
that you can give even in the open method. You can put the entire path here.
okay.
The closing of the file with width is appropriate, or it goes well.
Yes. Okay. So the difference is here in this method, whichever file you are gonna create it or open it, you have to also close it. Okay. Whereas here in the open with open method, the file gets closed once the task is executed. So you don't need to once again go and write close for closing any file. Okay. So open goes good with conjunction of another line dot close. Whereas with open, you can just say with open and put a short code for that whole thing. And this you can use in the next line to write or read or something. Okay. Yes, automatically close. Yes, that's right. Okay, so let's check how this gonna look like on our editor. So I'm gonna say XYZ equals to open, and let's assume I want to read some content. So I'm gonna say config.txt, and if I want to read the content of it, I'm gonna say XYZ dot read. Okay, and let's hit the play button. So this is how I'm gonna read the content of any file. So where is this file present? This file was present on the left hand side. If I double click, you can see how it looks like. You can also see how your computer is revealing you the content when you go with Python scripting to read the content of any files. Okay. So tell me, what is this output? In which data structure is this output?
List, sir.
Is it a list? Is it a dictionary?
List.
Is it a numbers? Is it a string? Is it what tuples? Is it a bytes? What is this data looks like?
Dictionary, sir.
Okay. Why do you say dictionary?
Yeah, we are dividing the sentence also. Dividing the statement.
See, when you have some data and someone asks you to just tell you what type of output is that, you must know, especially in these arrays I'm talking about. If it is a list, it should result back in square bracket, which is not happening at the moment. If it was a dictionary, it should result back in a curly bracket, which is not the scenario. And in the tuples and set as well goes similar way. Let's say if tuples is this, there is no parenthesis, and if it is a set, then there is no curly bracket. So it's neither list, neither dictionary, neither tuple, neither set. Okay. So how do I check what is it of? So I can just put something called as type, and then I can check myself. So it's a string in nature. So most of the time your output is gonna generate string in behavior. The content of this file, which is the content of the text file, and when you read it out and when you print it back, the print is gonna give you in the string format. But most of this time, let's say if you wanted to reuse this content somewhere in the next line, the string is not gonna be the one what we are expecting. We would need to convert it into list. Okay. And that we can use with some more syntax, like we can go with split lines method. What split line does, it is gonna consider line by line and convert all the strings into the list format. So if you take a print of this, see, this is how the end result would look like. So now this is a list that you can confirm because you can see that format of square bracket, which I have written here. Okay, so to identify any data structure, see how are they packed. If they are packed with square bracket, then it's a type list. We can also check now what type it is. Okay, so it's a list type. And now you tell me just from your understanding, if I have all these details, if I have my networking data in a list format, what can I do with these data? What would I try to do it in the next step? Okay, so let me put some easy reference. Let's say there are some files inside my directory, like some login credential. So I'm gonna use that to give you this example. I'm gonna change this to something like this, and I'll gonna put the exact file name. Okay, so tell me, is this right way? Is this right way of entering that entire path, or there is any problem with this? Okay, I can hit the play button. Now what do you understand? Is there any problem with this? And if there is a problem, then what is the problem?
You have used the double inverted.
That's not a problem here. Double inverted comma or single inverted comma, that's fine. Okay, anyway, I'll tell you. The problem
But there's
is,
a new line character there.
yes, so problem is here. So when you try to copy the complete path, especially from Linux operating machine or Windows, they have a lot of these sort of overlapping characters, which overlaps with Python's function or over on the Python source code. Okay, so there shouldn't be any overlapping. If a overlapping happens, then you know it's gonna give you some sort of errors, Unicode error or syntax error. And also this \n in this scenario is to go to the new line. So it's basically breaking that whole path. So there are two ways to fix it. You can convert the entire path by adding a prefix of R. R stands for raw. Basically, you can convert that whole thing as a raw text, or you can put /. So what it does, it's gonna escape the next illegal characters in your path, so that Python don't treat it as a /. Instead, it is gonna get escape. Okay. So what I mean to say is, you can just add the / in front of to keep uniformity. You can add the /. Otherwise, if you just want to put a fix to the problematic scenario, then this would be enough. You can put a / here, because here is where it's basically giving you an error. So you can put this and you can ask your Python to escape the next characters to be checked. Otherwise, if you also want the second method, you can go and add the raw method. It's just gonna treat it as a normal raw text only, without considering any of the /. Okay, so this method is also fine. Okay, now if I just hit the play button, I have two datas. So my question was, what would I do with the data which I have with me? So I can reuse them. Yes, I can reuse it for my rest of the purpose. Let's say I want to say z equals to index of 0, print it. See, it's gonna take that admin, and then I can put it somewhere inside the variable username. I can say that z equals to 0. Okay. I can say that print username. See, so let me just gray out this and play this button. So now your variable username has the data admin. And where is it coming from? It's coming from somewhere stored in your external file in your laptop. Same goes with password. Let's say you have to use a variable password and you want to store some data to that. So you can just store it this way, and you can take a final print to check whether you are able to read it out or not. See, so now your variables are good. And the next step, once you have username and password, what would you prefer doing?
Go to enable mode.
You have to
Freelance mode.
initiate SSH, right? First of all, then comes the
yes.
enable mode, right? You will now try to connect to your box. Agree? And once you're trying to connect to the box, your box is gonna prompt you for username, and there is where this comes into picture. It's gonna feed that data. It's gonna say that username is whatever value or whatever data stored in this variable, which is like in our case admin. And similar way, the device is then gonna ask you for password, and you will store this data there. Okay, let me keep this one just for our reference. Now your SSH is established. Now you will start sending the show commands, show clock, show version. So this is how you build your skeleton of your script, and then you start adding the enhancement. You add logics, you add for loops, you add CSV, you add backup. A lot of things you start adding once you build some sort of basic connections. Okay, so your script always has to start with getting authenticated. Without authentication, there is no way the script can fetch something. So you have to first authenticate yourself. Now it depends. You can keep your IP address, username, password within your script. Then might be the management has a big issue. They will come back. They will say that no, don't keep any username, password inside your script. Keep it out. And now you have only way to keep it somewhere in an external file. And then you need to know how do you call it inside your script. Okay, so this is the story behind it. Okay, so I'll take this out. And any doubt here in the split line function? What is split line doing? From the hands-on we checked, what do you understand? What is it basically doing?
It's creating a list.
Sorry?
It creates a list.
It don't create a list. It basically converts strings to list.
Okay.
Okay. So the string, which is over here, XYZ, is going to convert into list format. And there are two variants of it, split lines and also something called as split. Both are gonna be used for the similar purpose, string to list conversion. What happens with split line is, if you have these strings kept in line by line format, most of the time our networking outputs would be in a vertical, in a line by line fashion. So you can make use of split line and you can convert into a good list. But the second method is when you have the data. Okay, you have a data, but the data is not kept in a vertical order. Might be there is a delimiter like the dollar symbol, and you want to break it into list by telling that this is the placeholder or this is the delimiter, and on that basis it's gonna convert it into that. Okay, so let's say that if I keep one string here, this, let's say this is automation demo class. Okay, and basically this is the whole string, but you want to split it, you want to convert from string to list. So you cannot go with split line. As I told you, split line works when strings were kept in a vertical direction. Now you have to go with the split method, and then you have to define what delimiter you wanna prefer, and then you can print the final output. In this manner. Okay, split and split lines. Both are used for conversion of string to list, but it depends on scenario. Let's say in this is the scenario, then I want to convert in this way, and the placeholder act as whatever delimiter I'm gonna send it. So it's not always \n type of data we get it, right? But let's say you have it at \n, then you can just blindly go with split lines, and you don't need to define any \n or something. This itself is built in such a way that to check or to work on basis of the /n or a vertical format. So that's why I went with this method. Okay, so that was about it. Now let's say I have a couple of data put up here. So tell me, if someone asked me to get this data out, so how can I only fetch this data by not bringing out the others?
You have to use the index, right? So
That's
0,
value.
1, 2.
Yes, that's right. So remember, the list, or in Python, there is a concept of indexable. So you can index these data. It starts from 0, not with 1. So 0 is your first element, and then and so on. It's gonna start with this. Now if I call, let me gray this out because I'll get a big red warning signal, warning saying that whatever you called is so and so. Okay, now let's say I want to read the third element. So what index do I need to call?
Index 2.
2.
Okay. Okay, that's fine. Now you could find it out easily. You guys told me it's to go with 2. But let's say the scenario is different. Okay, now I want to read this. Now how would you tell me what's the index?
Index that is -2.
If I go with -2, okay, so you get the output of this. So those guys who wants to start it on a reverse order, then remember the index can also go with in a negative structure. It starts with -1. This is -2. This is -3, and so on. Okay, so this is something here to know. All right. Okay, so let me write some of the data structures. That's supported in Python. Most of the things are might have been heard in C, C++, or Java as well. So here in the Python's data structure, So when I say data, it's some useful information. Okay, could be username, password, IP, port number, secret password, show commands. Okay, it could be any data, numbers, or any characters. So we have string. As we know, either they are represented by inverted comma or double inverted comma, both are fine. We got numbers. Now numbers are of different types. You have something called as integer. You got float. Floats are the decimal formats, okay, like 5.1. So that is called as float. And there is something called as complex numbers, which is basically written with the imaginary factor. It's not used in network automation, at least. If you remember these arithmetic or mathematics, algebra. So this is something belonging to that, okay? And then we have arrays or set of collections. We got list. We know how list look like. How do you access? We have dictionary. We got tuples. We got set. So these are the major ones. And widely used in network automation would be list and dictionary, which is used widely. And apart from this, there are few more like bytes. Okay. The Boolean true or false, Boolean values true or false. Okay, these are few things which we can say it's some of the data structures here. List, dictionary, tuples, and set, which are the 4 different types of data structures in Python. Okay, so why 4 different types? Why not only one to handle this whole thing? Why these? There are 4 different types to complicate the whole thing. So let me put it in this way, that all these 4 types are of a different type. There are some properties which makes them different. So properties like if datas are indexable or not, is the data changeable once you create them or not, are they sorted, can we sort it out, can we allow duplicates within them. Okay, so there are these attributes which make them different from each other. So when I say list, it allows duplicate. You can access, you can modify, you can delete once the list is constructed. They are indexable. That means you can sort it out, or you can say that it's a ordered in structure. Once you build a list and when you execute it, you will always see the index 0 comes up to be the first, then index the second index, then the third, and it follow on. Okay, they are some sort of ordered in nature. One can predict what's gonna get executed next. Okay, it goes in a systematic order. Most of features go with dictionary as well, which is very similar to list, but yeah, not from the format, not from the appearance, just from the properties, I can say. So it can be accessible, you can modify, you can delete, they are indexable, they are ordered. Okay, but the difference here now is they don't allow duplicate. No duplicate allowed. They don't allow any sort of duplicate. That's gonna give an issue here. And out of all these four, dictionary has very a different looking appearance. So let's say if this is a variable and I have to build my dictionary, I put the two curly brackets and then I define the key and the value, comma. Then I go to the next key, key 1, colon, value, comma at the end, and so on. So keys cannot be duplicated. So always the keys have to be a unique key. Key 1, key 2, key 3. Say for example, if you see in the real script, you can see the dictionary format is being used here, this part. Okay. So there cannot be two identical keys. I cannot keep another value here, another key as username. That will be a violation now. So that you can keep definitely two same values. That doesn't matter. Let's say you wanted to keep the same value here. It's fine, not an issue. But you cannot keep the same identical keys. That's gonna be violation. Okay. It starts with curly bracket. Each line by line, they're separated out by a comma at the end. The very last line, it's a optional. You can keep a comma or you can exclude the comma, but you cannot exclude anything on the top line. So you will start getting the error. Okay, so you can see here it says that there is a expected comma at the end. So the very last line, it's your choice. You can keep it or you can exclude it, but make sure anything on top of it has to end with a comma. Okay, so this is how you write the Python's dictionary format. And these are some of the properties you can access, modify, delete. They are indexable, they are ordered, but no duplicates allowed. And with respective to tuples, which you put up in a parenthesis, half bracket, half open bracket. So here they are indexable, they are ordered, but they are non-changeable. That means once you create them, they are like hard binded. You cannot modify them. No modification allowed. Okay. And duplicate you can allow. You can have the duplicate entries. That's fine. Okay. Going with set. Now for set, you think that it's out of the world. It's non-indexable. It's ordered structure. Okay. No duplicates is gonna allow. Okay. So most of the time, set is used by the data science field. Okay. Why? Because of its property, no duplicate allowed. Now, what happens when people from data science industry, when they are analyzing the data, they get like millions of data to be analyzed. Could be food inventories, could be analysis on a state or country. So they just analyze, they see the trend, etc., which could be millions of data. And there is chances there are a lot of duplicates in them, inside that particular data. So they convert from list to set and back from set to list. So what happens? All the duplicates get removed off, and whatever they get a good result of it. There are different ways to remove the result, but this is the best. This is the easiest way of removing any duplicates from a given data. Okay, so these are the 4 different data structures, and each one of them are different from others. So when you select something, you have to select by knowing what's your requirement and where would you use them. Most of the time, list is used with the for loop so that you can perform any repetitive task, and you can insert list and for loop. So if you see here, this is a list and I integrated with the for loop to do the repetitive task. Okay, so similar way you can have multiple such list. You can call it anywhere. Say for example, there was one more list here. So this list was containing credentials. This list is going to contain some IPs, multiple device IP. It all depends how you call them. So you're calling the list, one of the list data to this variable, and one of the other list data into another key of this. Okay, so you can call it anywhere. Say you can go till last line and you can still see that those item or these elements could have been used. See for example here. Okay, so I'm saying that I want to use the data from this IP123 in list 123, which is nothing but part of this. Okay, so guys, how is it going? Are you guys with me?
Yes, we are.
Yes.
Okay. All right. I'll go to some for loop iteration and if else and while loop, and then we can wrap up for the class and we can catch up next week. Okay. So some,
If you could elaborate on the use cases for dictionary, tuple, and set as well.
for which one?
Dictionary, tuple, and set.
I have put already, right? I mean, it's not used in the script because most of the time we don't use tuples and set in the automation script. It will be list and dictionary, but yes, tuples are still used by the module inside the library, and set is very, very less, not useful for network automation at least. Okay.
Okay.
All right. How many guys have heard about for loop in might be anywhere in C or C++ or Java, wherever?
Yes, yeah.
For loop. Okay. So how does it work? For loop in any other programming languages? What's the basic flow diagram there? Why do we use it?
For iteration, sir, for iteration purpose.
Iteration, yes.
Okay. Okay, so let's say your requirement is you got thousands of devices and you want to take the output of this command. Okay, now definitely you don't want to go in this method, device one, and then take this, then go to device two, then fetch this. Definitely you don't want to write your script which goes in thousands of lines. These are repetitive tasks. So what you can do is you can put all the device in a list. This is your list. You can integrate a for loop. You can say for XYZ in list 1, 2, 3. And then you can hit that command like show IP int brief. Okay, so within 3 lines, you can get your job done, which you would have gone by writing thousands of lines. So basically, it's to cut down the repetitive iterations or to perform the to cut down the lines here. Okay. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry, any doubt?
So where is the indentations are in for loop?
Sorry, indentation.
Yeah, indentations. So
Yeah, I will tell you. Okay. So any other doubt? Nitin, any doubt? I saw you unmuted.
That indentation and that flower marks, flower brackets to the loop.
Okay. Okay. All right.
Actually, I was typing the question, but if you're comfortable, I can just ask this here.
Yeah, yeah. Okay.
It's off topic from for loop. So I do see that we in this session we call some functions read, split lines, split, etc. Usually, any functions such as any functions in general, we call them or refer them using libraries like import functions. Here in this session, we did not call any of those imports, but still open split lines did work. So is there a hidden library that we are not seeing on IDE that is by default called?
Yeah. So see, whichever I use today, like open, split lines, or dictionary or string, basically they are inbuilt part of Python. Okay. And already my ID has that. So if I go back, you can see my ID is already integrated with Python 3.9. So whatever I write, it's basically calling from there. You can try out the same thing by taking out Python out of it. And say, for example, if you take out this and keep some no interpreter and try to redo the split line or string, your script will not work. So when it comes to the default features, the inbuilt feature of Python, just the prerequisite is that Python is installed and your ID recognize that programming language, and you can run all these inbuilt. And when it comes to the function like netmiko, nornier, they are called as external function, and it has external functions to be called as well. Say for example, I have used send config and send command. That will not work until I call those modules, external modules, because these are non-Python inbuilt functions. Okay.
So if I'm using no interpreter as you just mentioned, what library should I be importing for me to access those open or split lines or any generic functions?
See, Python is the base here. You have to mandatorily have a Python running.
Okay.
And rest, it depends. Once you have Python, and let's say the next requirement is just to open Excel sheet. Okay, so in that case, might be you don't need to bring this module, but you could bring some other modules like open XYL or XLRD, XLWT, and then you can read it out.
Okay.
Okay.
Makes sense. Thanks.
All right. So let's come back here. For loop iteration. Yeah, guys. So tell me, in the scenario like for loop iteration, it's to cut down the number of repetitive tasks. So how it works is, I'm just gonna guide you with one flow diagram. So let's say I keep all my multi devices in this list, like hundreds of them, and you know that list has a indexing power. So it's gonna index as 0 or 1 till 100. Okay. And the only condition for loop basically looks at is if it's a last item from that particular data which is being sent one at a time. If the answer is no, if the answer is false, that means there are many more device kept on the list. So it goes back and once again keep performing the task. So let's say your task was to do show IP int brief or show clock, okay, or print statement. So these are all getting repetitive until you finish with this particular list. And once the job is done, you can come out of it. So that's when the last index has been sent. Now it's a true condition. Your for loop expires and then you are out of your script. Okay, so it all depends how many number of data you stored in the list. So let's say you have 100 data, you can think about 100 iterations until the very last one. If you had only 10 devices, you can think about 10 iterations. And then it's gonna meet the condition and then it's gonna come out of it. Okay, that's what happens even in the script. So if I keep multiple IPs within this, so one at a time is gonna get considered, and this does act as a new variable. This act as a placeholder as well. So IP 123 equals to list 123 and its index power. Okay, so for the first iteration, one element will be considered. So let's say that's index 0. The job is done. It goes to the very last line. Now it's no more. Let's say it's not the last element. It goes back and takes index of 1 now. Okay, that's the data stored in this variable IP123. And again, the repetitive task happens. It go back. Now index of 2 comes into picture. Now that's the new data getting stored in IP123, goes till the very last. It's like a rotational. It's keep on going. And once the list knows that now this is the very last element, there are no more data, your flow chart turns to be true, Boolean true, and you're out of the whole for loop. And then you can, you can say that it's your job is done and you want to exit from this for loop. Job is done or something like that. So now this print statement is printed only once all the iterations are happened, 100 of iterations, and then you can print it. If you keep this print statement somewhere here along with that for loop, now this is also getting printed 100 times. Okay, so remember that which print statement you want to keep outside of for loop and which one you want to keep it inside the for loop. So if there is a minus symbol which can just shrink out the whole section, so you can see the whole data, a whole lines got shrinked within this broad section of for loop. So if you just expand that, you can see this all line number 10 to line number 35, which is part of for loop. And once this is done, then you will print the final print and you're done for the script. Okay, so this is how it works, one at a time, and that particular data get processed. Then it's gonna go back. If the Boolean is false, take the second data, reiterate, third data, reiterate, and then just close that, and you're out with your for loop. Okay, so if you want, I can put one for loop here. So let's say list equals to CCNA, CCNP, CCI, automation, and you put a for loop. So your new variable name is XYZ in list 123 colon enter. So good thing about these sort of professional editor is it's gonna keep a indentation block of 1. So if you see, there is a indentation block. It came automatically. Okay, this happens in such IDs like PyCharm or MS Visual Studio. Don't expect the same thing in a Notepad++ or Sublime text editor. I will show you that as well. So let's say you take just a normal Notepad and then you put the same thing, list 123 equals to CCNA, CCNP, and now you want to put for XYZ in list 123 and now you press enter, you see it's starting with the block of 0, which is wrong. Which, as per Python's standard structure for loop, this must be kept in a block of 1. Okay, which you can hit a space bar or hit a tab, but it should be part of for loop, which is a drawback of using these sort of basic notepad or notepad plus plus. So that's why I recommend go with some professional tools, so that it can sense what's the, most of the time it will sense what's the right format here. Now you can print it out. You can say XYZ. Okay, so think from the flow chart that we just had put up. So one at a time, the element is gonna get printed. See, so one element at a time. Whatever iterations you have, let's say you wanted to print show commands. Okay, whatever multiple iterations, each one of them will get executed for device by device. All right, let me put them inside inverted commas. Okay, so see, so this is your first box. Assume it as a box, okay, or a first device. You're gonna execute this command. Then your boolean is false because it's not a last element. It's gonna go to the second index and gonna take the data of that. The two commands run. Then again it goes to the third index. Then again the commands run, and then final, and then you're out with that. So you can put one final for print statement like job is done. Now thus you keep it outside of for loop, not within the for loop. See, you get the final statement as job is done. What would happen if you keep it inside a for loop? Now tell me, what would happen if you keep it within a for loop?
It will print job is done for each entry in the list.
Yes. So what happens? It's gonna print for each iteration. Now it's you to decide what type of print you wanted to put at the end. If you wanted to put that XY is disconnected or XY job is done, then of course put it within for loop. But if you wanted to put a very generic message at very end, job is done, job is successful, then keep it outside of the for loop iteration. Okay, so this is how for loop works. If there is no doubt, I'll go with the next one, which is while loop iteration. So let me draw the flow diagram for while loop. Now while loops are of two types, guys. There is a finite and infinite or infinity. Both are used depending on the scenarios. I have examples for both of them. So let's say, when would I use finite? So finite is when I have some, a very calculated condition. Let's say I want a script to run for 4 times, or I want the script to run for 2 times, not 3, not 1, only 2 times. Let's say I want the script to run for exact 4 times, neither 3, neither 5, neither I'm not sure how many elements would be present. So when I'm very fixed with the calculated sort of thing. So in finite thing, what happens? I'm gonna put my start. Let's say I'm going to start with some number. I will put a condition. Condition is like start less than 105, and then I'll put a incremental step also, saying that +1. Now what happens when I execute a script? It's gonna run for 1 attempt. This is my first attempt. Then it's gonna go for the next one, which is gonna be my second attempt. Gonna be the third attempt. Okay. One more attempt. And then fifth attempt, and then my script should be done, or my finite while loop should be done with the condition, because this condition is like it can go till 104 lesser than 105. It cannot be 105. If you want to put that condition, then yes, you can you could have put something like this, is less than or equals to 105. So in that case, you can achieve one more iteration. Okay, this is like a very calculated format. And I'll tell you the practical scenario where I used this condition. I used it when I wanted 4 failed attempts for a Cisco login, because you know that the Cisco devices offers failed attempts. So when you put a wrong credential on the first time, normally what happens, your script gets disconnected saying that password is wrong. Okay, Python script says that your login is down, but we know that Cisco offers 4 attempts. So why don't I bring that why don't I leverage that functionality inside my script by using some finite while loop? I know it's a 3 iterations or 4 iterations, right? So I have kept the condition. I say that start with 0 and 0 should be less than 4. Until that, go with this, because I'm expecting iterations like 4. 0 is 1 iteration, 1, 2, and 3. So 4 iterations I'm expecting. And once the condition meet, let's say if the second attempt is good, then I definitely don't want to go myself to the third attempt unnecessarily. So I can put a break statement also, and I can come out of that while loop iteration. Okay, so in a real time, this is some scenarios where you can use it, the finite condition, and the incremental happens here at the end. Okay, so let's say the first condition, this is a first condition, you entered a wrong password. It comes to this step, line number 42, get incremented, goes with the second iteration. Let's say the second iteration is also wrong. Now it gets incremented by +1. Now it's a third attempt until this condition is gonna get matched up. It's gonna run, execute it. And for any iterations, if I input the right password, then I can definitely come out of that while loop iteration, and whatever is my job, I can continue with that, or I can execute that. Okay, so that's a real-time point of it. Okay, and what's the flow diagram for a while loop iteration? So for while loop iteration, it's very straightforward. It's gonna work on basis of condition. So let's say you define your you define some or let's say this is start of this. You have a condition x is less than 4. You have defined x is 0. Okay, and now let's say if the condition is true, if the condition is Boolean true, that means go back, carry the iterations. Okay, so it will happen until this condition is matched up and whatever incremental steps you have given. The moment the condition is done, this condition is failing, which is nothing but false scenario, then you can exit out of the while loop. Or if the condition is met, then also there is chances you are forced to go with the next trial. So for that reason, you can add always a break statement. So you can add a break statement so that if the condition is met, then come out of it. So you are giving you are giving another way to get out of it. Not always necessary the condition has to be get false or to get out of it. Okay, you can also put a hard fix to that.
So Sagar, I have a question here. So will the break statement have local significance or global?
It's a local significance, only within the while loop.
Only within the while loop. So I have if or for loop within while loop, and I have a break statement within for loop. Will that's going to exit me or break me out of the while loop in its totality, right?
Yes, it will break you only via the while loop conditions. Say for instance, now the break is put up here. Okay. So the moment the condition is met, you are out of the while loop iterations.
Okay. So yeah, that question popped up because I see break within if loop, but we are exiting out of the while loop. So I was just curious if the break is locally significant for if loop or if that's going to be applied for while loop.
No, it's
So-
gonna for while loop. Okay.
Okay.
So once this condition is an integral part of while loop. So once the condition is met, and let's say if this block of condition is met, then you will break out of the while loop iterations. Otherwise, you will have to go with this. It will go to the next iteration. Okay, this whole block is integral part of while loop now, including break. So if statement is matched up, the condition is here, the angular bracket and the hash symbol. If this get matched up, then definitely this is how it will gonna break the while loop also. Okay. Otherwise, what happens? It will unnecessarily go to the next attempt or next iteration.
Thank you.
All right. So one last thing, that is infinite. Now for infinite, the condition should be always true, because if you see the flowchart diagram, the condition for any in n number of iterations, if you're looking at n number of iterations, then the condition should always be true. There is nothing like going false here. So you have to prepare your infinite while loop in such a way that always it meets the true condition. Okay, so you can give a start point, and then you can define that start itself is your condition, something like this. No need of incremental step. Okay, no need of any incremental step. So now what happens with these two lines? You're basically always in a true condition, and this keeps on repeating the while loop iteration. And if you want to get out of it, you have to manually stop your script. So there is a script with me. So that script was prepared when you want to bring up various interfaces, and you're not sure how many interfaces you want to admin shut or admin up. Could be 10, could be 20, could be 30, could be 5. Okay, so here we have put a true condition. I say variable 1 2 3 equals to 1, and while this is the condition, and there is no incremental to be put anywhere. So now this keeps on making n number of iterations, and then if I'm done, I can just click this stop button manually, and it will stop that. Okay, so that's about the infinity while loop iterations. All right, so in short, I just want to summarize whatever we went so far. So we started with print statement. We started with the comment function. We went with the data structures, string, list, or let's say let's keep the integer or numbers. Then we had the arrays, list, tuples, set, dictionary. Then we covered some of for loop iterations, while loop iterations, two types, infinite and okay, and then if conditions. All right, so this is for the second demo. And in the next class from Saturday, we will start writing with our basic scripts. Okay, so I'll start with some modules like NetMiko, and the rest of the theory we can take it along with the script writing. So any doubt with any of topics for the day, or any questions about the batch duration or curriculum? So you guys can take this. You can email that particular email ID or contact, or there is a website where you can see the upcoming courses, or the backend people has already put the chat over on the Zoom chat as well. Okay, so the next step is enrollment step. You guys can talk to the backend team and get yourself enrolled. So the next meeting, it's gonna be the logged sessions. Okay. So guys, thank you everyone for joining, for making your time, for joining, participating the two demos here. So any doubt, any clarification?
Same link will be used in next class, or you will be changing the link?
Link will change. Okay. Our final WhatsApp group will be put up with the updated link, Zoom meeting.
Okay. And the timing is 6:30.
Yes, for first few classes it's going to be 6:30, and then we will shift it to 8:30 to 11:30. Okay.
Okay.
All right, guys. So have a nice day. Enjoy your rest of weekend, and catch you guys on next Saturday. Okay. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you, Saga.